Our first session explores how InsureTech is transforming risk management and resilience, equipping businesses and individuals with tools and strategies to navigate unpredictable futures. From risk to resilience, how InsureTech is preparing us for an uncertain future. Kindly join me in welcoming Mr. Julius Orayo, the Group CIO for Jubilee Insurance.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Julius Orayo. I'm the Group CIO for Jubilee Insurance, and today we have got a very exciting topic. We'll be talking about how the InsureTech is preparing the insurance sector for the uncertain future. So in this particular presentation today, we'll cover a few topics. The first one is to talk about the state of insurance. When you come to Jubilee or any insurance company, what is it that we look at before we give you a quotation for a premium? Then after that, we'll also look at what exactly we come across in real life when now you've paid for your policy and you want to experience how do insurance companies manage that. Then as we go through that, we'll also look at the main challenges that the insurance companies come across. And then we'll finish off with where the InsureTech can participate in making sure that they are able to support us to go through the future that we are looking at. Welcome. So we have a number of challenges that we come across as insurance companies. And I'll touch on each of these and give you examples of why there are challenges to us. So let's talk of fraud. According to the research that's available, they say that fraud in the insurance industry ranges from between 20% and 50%. And it comes in several ways. And of course, these numbers that are given, no one has ever been able to prove whether it's indeed 50% or 40%. But anytime we have had cases that we investigate, actually they have turned out to be fraudulent. And they come in several ways. We, in the past, have come across cases where some guys in River Road could fabricate cards, medical cards, and go around in various facilities, pick medications, and actually they were running their own pharmacies. That's fraud. You have heard of cases where cars are stolen from another region, they come through Kenya insured, and then after 2 weeks they disappear, and in the process you find that these were just fraudulent kind of claims. Actually, we have also come across cases where people who have not died have been able to be given life insurance claims. In cases where you find the person who was insured didn't exist, and the person who is dying, whose death certificates were being given, is actually not a dead person. So it never existed. And that's all fraud. So there are several, these are challenges that we come across as insurance companies that we'll be looking forward to InsureTech's coming in to help us, manage these kind of challenges. The other one is on high claims. And of course, this is fueled by inflation and several ways. So whenever I do my pricing and I'm telling you pay $100, it's because I've done an average of, several years. I know that the average book I have, I'll expect only 4 visits for the whole book to go to the hospitals. But then now, imagine if the doctor, whenever you go to see the doctor tells you, by the way, come in tomorrow to see if you are healing. And then after that, he gives you additional medication. And then after 2 weeks, he tells you, come back after 2 weeks. And in the process, then you find that actually the total claims that we were expecting have changed. And these are things that we didn't factor. Then, of course, you have also seen the levels of inflation that we have come across. If you look at last year, the dollar was, in the range of around 120, 125. And right now, we are almost at 150. When we were doing pricing for the policies at the beginning of the year, we were only looking at around 123 and maybe an additional 5 shillings, that's around 127 in Kenya. So if that particular inflation has come in, of course, it's going to affect the claims that we are going to pay. And these are things that we didn't budget for. Again, the next challenge is on the number of supply chain players we have. I'll give you an example of a motor policy. When you get a claim for motor, the first person who most likely you will see is you will go to the police and you get an abstract, and then an assessor will come and assess the claim, look at the vehicle and all that kind of stuff. They'll send an investigator who will look at what caused the claim. Were you drunk? What was involved? How many people were died? Was it a fraudulent claim? So the investigator will do their work. And if, let's say, there were injuries and stuff like that, lawyers will be involved. And so after the lawyers have done their bit, and most likely what will happen is now I have to take your car to the garage. So at the garage, I'll have the mechanics to be paid. I'll have the suppliers for the spares to be paid, as well as also the garage itself. But sometimes, if it's a write-off, we'll also be storing that in a some go down somewhere, and we'll also have to pay for that particular fee. So all these players actually are eating from the $100 that you paid for your claim. So supply chain is an area that is really a challenge to insurance companies. And then of course there are operational expenses. When we look at the operational expenses, we are looking at our rent, we are looking at our staff costs, we are looking at electricity and all that. And then come mid-year, the price of oil has changed, the exchange rates have changed and all that kind of stuff, which change the operational landscape that we had already planned for. So this again a challenge that we really come across as insurance companies. Again, a lot of the business from insurance companies in this region, over 90% of the businesses are actually through intermediaries. And they're not doing this particular business for free. So brokers, agents, independent agents, and of course some other integrators who come into place. What they do is they'll always be looking at getting that particular pie that you are paying. And it's a percentage of claims that will, of course, incur. And there are other costs that will incur in the acquisition process. Tendering, giving marketing costs and all that kind of stuff. And of course, staff costs, which keep on changing and rising every day, is a normal challenge that we come across the industry. So then when you look at all these kind of challenges, where do the insurtechs come in? And that will be now the area that I would like the insurtechs to look at and identify a niche that they can play. Let's start with the first one, which is fraud. So when we talk of fraud, there are a number of things we can use. There's telematics and AOT, there's predictive modeling, and there's also advanced data analytics and artificial intelligence. Now, all these kind of areas, an insurance company doesn't have the time and the resources to go and invest in it. And this is an area that I foresee where an insurtech can come in. I'll give you an example of an insurtech we worked on in this particular area. So these guys had developed an algorithm that could do clinical claims processing. And they were able to tell us which particular claims are likely to be fraudulent, where is it likely to be bad levels of care and all that kind of stuff. And I can tell you that the kind of insights they gave us were very, very crucial. And we were able to actually make some good savings in terms of the claim costs. And even look at the fraud trends and even predict the levels of fraud that are likely to come in. So if you're an insurtech and you want to invest in the space and you really are interested, I think this is an area you can move into, and our doors are open. You will come in and we'll work with you. The next area is on claims management. When you talk about claims management, we have got, if you look at the ecosystem in an insurance company, let me give an example of the general insurance. So they have hired assessors, they have hired investigators, they have hired lawyers, they have hired all manners of people. There are people who even capture those particular claims to their systems. Now, this is a very archaic and manual process. So I expect that then insurtechs can give us a digital platform, can give us some form of automation where a claim, wherever it is, can be submitted directly to our backend systems. We can have some AI-powered claims processing where I can be told, from the vehicles, from this particular vehicle, the pictures taken, this is most likely to be a fraudulent claim. This particular image is not the original image I had when we were doing the evaluation of the car. There is also virtual assistants that can immediately, you can ask that virtual assistant a few questions, and from the questions, the virtual assistant is able to know whether to process that claim or to decline it. It can even negotiate with you and make a payment immediately without having to go through the claims process. And of course, supply chain players coming in to help us in the claims management process. So this is an area that I would like insurtechs to come with some solutions that we can actually work with. The next area that I would like us to look at is on the supply chain players. And this is very key, because traditionally, insurance companies were the chunk of all trades. So I'm the person who is underwriting the policy, I'm the one who is administering the claims, I'm the assessor, I'm the investigator, I'm the lawyer, I'm everything, I'm the accountant, I'm all that kind of stuff. But then, the particular skill sets that insurtechs bring on board. Like some years back, this was an insurtech that came to see me. They had this app where if you get an accident, you take a photo of that particular vehicle. It will be able to tell you when the image was taken, when the accident happened, if that particular damage for a spare part, let's say, is replaceable or it's repairable, And within seconds, it's able to even tell you the price of that particular spare part, and even the available garages that can service that particular car. So I expect then, the insurtechs to come in and play in this particular landscape. In the health side, we have got, applications like Livia and Sazadoc. These guys, what they've done is, let's say if you have, you're going for medication, or you want to see a doctor, you'll consult with a doctor online using telemedicine. You'll get a prescription from the doctor. They'll even send someone to come and take samples, a blood sample or stool sample, whatever is required, take it to the nearest lab, and after that, results will be forwarded into the app. And if it's medication to be given, Livia will look for the best price for that particular medication and then have it delivered to your home state. And that's something that's happening in the back end with the best kind of support. And Sazadoc is also doing the same thing. And these are players that are coming in to really help us manage claim costs and also manage the kind of clientele we are coming across. In operational expenses, I think this is something that every person wants to look at. Using data. I mean, like within Jubilee, we have invested a lot in data and analytics. But then, we don't have the bandwidth to look at all the data points that we can look at to make sure the experience for the customers is good. So I would like insurtechs to come in and give us some insights on churn prediction, on fraud prediction, renewal predictions, budget predictions. There are a number of things, things like what MTech is doing as one of the insurtechs, where they have created an aggregator platform where we can come in and participate as insurance companies and avoid all these kind of operational expenses that we have to go through. So this is an area that I foresee the insurtechs helping us navigating the future that is not very certain. The other one is on commissions and acquisition costs. So I have talked about MTech. I think that's an area that we can come through. Or creating aggregation platforms where I can get my pricing, comparisons, and all that kind of stuff without having to rely heavily on the traditional brokers and agents. So it's not that they are not good. Agents and brokers are there, but then there's the new customers that we are coming across, the Generation Z, guys who are between 18 years and 30 years who don't want to deal with an agent. Actually, there's particular offices that are clearly labeled agents not allowed. So this is an area where then insurtechs come in and they can bridge that gap and even reduce the acquisition cost that we come through. In terms of staff costs, if you look at the growth of the staff expenses over the years, and even with the new taxations coming on board, it's not just only affecting the companies, but it's also the staff themselves, but also the companies. There's no space available. I mean, if I was to grow my book 10 times, I don't know where I'm going to have all the staff to sit. So what are we doing to do to manage this? And we have actually worked together with even insurtechs in this. We can start using robots. So like within Jubilee, we have got a Robot Nation Center. This is where we have got robots that do what human beings do. Then human beings now can focus on what is very, very critical, something that is good to them. That's adding value to whatever they do. And then we also are looking at customer self-portals. If we can self-service portals, if we can have insurtechs come in and create some low-code platforms where insurance companies can actually plug in and do pricing, collect claims, collect feedback from customers, even manage the complaints coming from various customers. It will be a very key area that could have really helped the insurance companies. Mobile apps. I mean, every insurance company wants to create a mobile app, but then after 6 months, you find it can't work, because we were using the traditional thinking of insurance companies. And now this is where we expect insurtechs to come in and give us modern mobile apps with the gamifications in them, with the right tools, which we can actually have in place within weeks or days, which is not possible using the current setup of insurance companies. And then there's also another item that is very key, using AI in our operations. So we recently, when you talk of using AI, there are a number of things that I'll be looking at. First of all is customer service. How can I make sure that as I'm asleep, actually I've got a robot that's already servicing? My contact center doesn't have to be managed by 60 people. I can have a lesser team of people looking at the operations by using AI. How can I understand who is likely to go to also using AI? So then my staff costs can be reduced, which in essence will also be pushed into the premiums that my customers pay. And also my shareholders to get something in return for their investments. So these are the areas that I see we're looking forward to the InsureTechs to help us. So I'm urging all the InsureTechs, our doors in Jubilee are quite open. Please come in, let's work together. All these areas that are available, I know they may not look so clear, but I think by having a collaborative kind of an environment, we can make sure that we are able to benefit, and you're also able to benefit as an InsureTech. And thank you so much, and thank you everyone for listening to me.